Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Brian Kain's Drinking Outside the Box. So obviously we got a little festive this go around, just a smidge.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe a little too festive.
Just
the right amount of festive. So this time, Brian is going to walk us through some classic holiday
we could
spirits,
even go
cocktails.
ancient.
Ancient. Oh, that's more than classic.
Yeah, we're going way back.
Okay. So where are we going to start?
We're going to start with making wassail.
Okay.
So we've all heard the Christmas carol, here we come a wassailing. And so wassail is actually a beverage. And in this case, it's ale, Madeira, baked apples, sugar, and all your typical Christmas spices. Cloves, allspice.
I would say I love all of those
cinnamon.
things individually. I don't know that I've ever had them collectively.
So it's fun.
Okay.
And the recipe that I'm using is also involves eggs.
Okay.
Because that would be a traditional thing. It adds a nice
That would have been
frothy head
involved into it. Okay.
And so that's the next step. I've already done all the baking of the apples, the mulling of the ale.
So how long would you say it took you?
So beginning to end, you can get this done in about an hour and a half.
Hour and a half? Okay.
So it's the longest part's baking the apples, takes 45 minutes. You're literally just coring out an apple, stuffing it full of brown sugar, putting it in a baking dish, putting a little water in it, baking it.
Baking it.
350,
Okay.
45 minutes. Thank you very much. That's about
Seems
it.
doable.
It is. It's very doable. It's not. None of these are hard. It's just time frame.
Right.
You gotta be into it, and then the other time-consuming part, which is I actually would recommend you have a hand mixer for this, is doing the egg whites and yolks.
Gotcha. So the recipe for wassail, has that always been the same, or has it evolved over the centuries?
Well, the old recipes never had measurements, and they never had any kind of
no exactness.
No exact things, because they just expected you to know how to do it.
Okay.
Which is both a good thing and a bad thing.
And a bad thing.
But, when you bring
no rules, but also no expectations.
Right.
How many eggs are we talking?
We are talking 6 eggs.
How many will this wassail serve then? Like, is this a 1-2 cocktail thing, or are we talking this is for an
This is a communal
entire
drink.
Okay.
So the thought was it was twofold. It was when the carolers came to your house, you would pay them with wassail.
With wassail.
Right.
Okay.
So that it warmed them up, because this is a hot drink.
I'll buy that.
And it was also a toast to next year's harvest.
Next year's harvest and good health.
Right.
And that's why I was doing a little research and looking at like the farmer's aspect of it, is that they would pour hot cider, like it was like in orchards and that type of thing. They would pour hot cider on the plants at the end of the year, or the trees, for next year's harvest. And it just evolved from there, or it's not even one of the first instances of it.
Right.
But it evolved to the caroling side of things, and what do I want to say? Keeping the angry mobs at bay.
Well, yeah, you wanted to appease the gods.
Yeah, there you go.
Back when everything was pagan.
So let's talk a little bit about what all is in the crock pot that you have.
In the crock pot?
Yes.
So in the crock pot right now is Madeira wine,
Okay.
which is a fortified wine that has great flavors. It's barrel aged.
Okay.
It's used for cooking a lot. And then there is English ale, and I used Old Speckled Hen,
Okay.
which is an English red ale. It's fantastic flavor, and there is a whole bottle of Madeira and 6 bottles.
6 bottles of the beer?
6 bottles of the beer.
Okay.
So we're almost at our stiff peaks.
And then you already went through the baked apple process.
Right.
And those are in there.
And those are in there. So it's that, and then it's the spices, and that's really, besides doing this is the
super complex. It's more of this process for the final steps.
Right, and you could really not use, you can skip the eggs.
Gotcha.
But a little extra step.
Right.
Why not do it?
If you want it to be authentic. What stage are our peaks?
We are there. So now that we have our stiff peaks, we are just going to take these egg yolks to what is called the ribbon stage, which if you've ever made hollandaise, you'll know it's right before you add the butter.
Okay.
And the reason you do the whites first and then the egg yolks is because if you get any yolk into egg whites, they will not whip up.
Ruins it.
Yes. No fat. You can't put fat in your egg whites.
Gotcha.
And your eggs will change color. They'll get lighter. And the reason it's called ribbon stage is because it will throw a ribbon.
Throw a ribbon? Okay.
So if you do this, it throws a ribbon and it kind of sticks on top of the surface for a little bit.
Gotcha. So outside of utilizing this as a beverage to keep the carolers happy,
Right.
now it's probably more of a classic holiday party or family gathering
Right.
type of scenario.
You know, everybody's there for your holiday events and your
Once we go through the egg white and egg yolk step, is this something that you can
you then just leave it in the crock pot.
Set
and
it.
Everybody can just dip up their own.
Perfect.
And you're good to go.
That's not bad.
It's warming, you know, before you go caroling.
Before? Okay.
Because if anybody actually still goes caroling anymore.
I'm sure there's those out there.
There's a few. And then, you know, you just take some of the whites. And since we're not making a souffle, you don't have to be too nice about it.
After you worked so hard to keep them separate.
Right. Now you're just getting the texture in it.
Okay.
Get it all nice and mixed together. And now it comes to the two-hand process. Because it is eggs and this is a hot liquid.
Okay.
If you're not careful, you're going to get scrambled eggs. So everybody...
That doesn't sound appetizing, Brian.
It's not that appetizing, so it's all about the process now. It's called tempering the eggs.
Okay.
So you get your ladle.
So it's slowly bringing up the temperature of the eggs.
So you're just going to slowly mix it in.
I don't know, you're getting pretty complex here.
This is outside the box, you know, it's something that you
I will say,
normally do.
Ever since you took that lid off of the crock pot, it smells delicious in here. So this would be a scenario where you want the smell-o-vision version of this video.
And the cloves are wanting to come into the mix. And that's going to be enough of that.
So you did about 3 ladles?
3 ladles full just to get it warm, maybe one more. And then you take gonna step out of the camera for a moment, and that just gets mixed on in.
Just incorporate it right in. Okay. And over the top.
Right to the top.
Is there, like with some of our other videos, we've talked about traditional glassware and stuff.
I mean, it would be a mug.
Okay.
Just anything that holds heat real well. And then we just
In our scenario, it's going to be
We're going to
Irish
be
coffee.
Irish coffee because we like to be able to see what we're drinking on this kind of thing.
Okay, thank you. Have a good one. You too. Thanks.
So presentation alone with that, with having the glass, you see the separation between the frothy top. I mean, that's perfect. And even the tone and the color is great.
And the apples float in it, which is kind of fun.
Thank you, sir.
And this is going to look fantastic on my mustache.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Very subtle
Subtle spiciness,
but
a little sweet.
and the warmth of it combined with the kind of the blending of the alcohols is really nice.
And you get some good apple notes from the apples being right in the mix.
Tons of baked goods in this one.
Yeah, you can just sit down by a fire with this, and
I don't think there's anything not to like about it.
you can go caroling. But we're not.
It's all you. It's
Yeah.
not me. All right, so we've tackled Wassel.
The Old English hot punch.
I love it. What's next on our, what I want to say, holiday classics journey?
So next is, our Americans will call it mulled wine.
Okay.
Our German friends, it's Glühwein,
Okay.
and it's just you take some fruit juices. So in this case, it's fresh squeezed orange and lemon, brown sugar, and then again Christmas spices, star anise, cinnamon.
Things that are classic with the season.
Right.
That you
The
can
one that's a
also.
little different for this one has juniper berries in it.
Okay.
So even more of that Christmas piney kind of sense.
Are there, what do I want to say, in some of the spirits like gin and different things like that we talk about, there's standards.
Right.
Are there standard spices that go into a mulled wine? Or is it kind of open-ended?
It's going to be open-ended, but it's Christmas spices. It's all you think those warm,
those cinnamony, nutmeg, pie baked goods.
all the pie ones. And
All
so
right.
this is already all together, and it has, we used cab as the wine, not an expensive cab. That's, you want to use a fruity one that'll stand up to everything.
Well, and isn't that the whole premise of mulled wine to begin with, the history of it? That it was sort of making...
Well, original, it was what was left on the table after everybody was done drinking at night, thrown into the pot, throw the spices into it, serve it the next day.
And in a pandemic world,
We're
not going to do that.
This is fresh wine.
Okay.
And all the...
But then the whole idea is to make it palatable.
Right, so it's sweetened, it's spiced, has more fruit into it.
Okay.
It is just, it's a fun thing to have.
Is there a particular wine that you recommend using, or is it just based off of personal preference?
It's going to be based off personal preference.
The color in this one is so rich and luxurious, like that deep color. So as you're cooking the wine with the spices,
it reduces down.
Does reduce, okay, and shifts the color a little bit. Is this another one that would be appropriate in the scenario of a holiday party that you could set?
You could put in a crock pot
and
people can serve themselves.
Perfect.
It's going to be that nice, warm, and pleasant, and just, I love the way this one smells.
Oh, that is nice. You've got just the right balance of a berry note in there, the wine coming through. and subtle spices. But as soon as you sip it, those spices come to life.
Yeah, and it's sweet and delicate, and it's not, for the people who don't like wine, this is still a great drink because it has those spices and sweetness.
And that's what I was thinking. It has such a great balance to it. It'd be something that everybody could enjoy. Oh, that one's delicious. And again, we're not talking like a super long prep time. Like how long did you...
Oh, this one is 10 minutes.
Okay.
And then the hard part is warming it up.
So as it would continue to
and don't boil. Once you put the wine in, don't boil.
Just sit there and simmer.
Yep, simmer and warm.
And it could essentially sit there all evening?
Right.
And the spices would just get richer, or all of the above?
All the above. It just gets better as it goes.
That one's almost crazy easy, and for something so good.
Yeah, really, really easy.
Cool. All right, so we have our Wassel.
Wassel.
We have our mulled wine.
Mulled wine.
Two that I think we can all agree are
delicious.
Delicious and essential in the holidays. What's our...
I mean, there's nothing really more
left?
quintessential than eggnog.
We can't forget eggnog.
And so in my family, it's the 1950s red binder Betty Crocker eggnog recipe, which is...
And there's nothing wrong with the classic, starting with that classic recipe.
I mean, it's simple. Eggnog is very literal. It's eggs, sugar, half and half. And then rum, because you have to. That's all it is. So it's really, really simple.
Okay.
Like, it's so simple that I just have kind of committed it to memory at this point in time. And, you know, some people have a thought that using raw eggs in a drink is not a good idea. There's enough rum that it's going to kill.
It's going to offset
whatever
any potential exposure to something.
Right.
Yeah.
So you just do 6 whole eggs.
How many would this serve? Starting with 6 eggs, that type of thing.
You will probably get about 6 to 8, depending on the size of your serving vessel.
And again, would this be served warm, room temperature, chilled, all of the above?
Cold.
Cold, okay.
Cold. This is the cold one. You get ice, you put it in the cup, you have it cold.
All right, 6 eggs.
6 eggs, whip it up. Not too hard.
So far, I could probably handle this.
Anybody can do this. And I went the really easy way and used the mixer this time. You mix it all up.
How far in advance can you make this?
Oh, weeks.
Okay. So it would live in the fridge?
Right.
Okay.
1 cup of sugar, just plain white sugar.
Okay.
A little bit of salt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just a smidge.
Just a smidge. A little flavor.
It's fair.
And then since it calls for 1 quart and half comes in quarts.
1 whole quart.
1 whole quart.
I like easy measure things.
You know, you don't have to think.
No math.
And since you don't want to wear it, lower the speed.
Lower it down. Gently pour. Good.
Then you just let it go for a minute or two to get the sugar dissolved, to bring all the flavors together.
Meld it all together.
You know, you really think about it, there's not a lot of flavors.
There's not a ton.
Right.
But
we're about to add rum.
That'll help.
In this case, I'm using plantation from Fiji.
Okay. What are your favorites?
You know, I love plantation.
Yep.
And then you can measure if you want. It says a cup.
Or you could pour.
You know, you put about a cup. And then, you know, it doesn't hurt to just a little extra.
All depends how early in the night you're making this. It's all good. Now, eggnog, again, is one of those, what do I want to say, deeply historic drinks that's been around for...
anything that involves eggs.
Just forever.
Yeah, people have been using it forever. And then because fresh nutmeg is the only way to use nutmeg.
Now, are there any standards on the spirit? So does it have to be rum, or do you have flexibility?
It's traditionally rum, but you can use brandy, you can use bourbon, you can use rum, you can use just whiskey as a general statement.
Okay.
It really doesn't matter that much. Just as long as it's not, you know, gin or vodka.
Right. Those probably would not work.
They don't bring the right flavors.
Fair enough.
To the party.
They don't play well with the eggs as much.
They don't. So then you get the nutmeg worked up together. That's eggnog.
That's a little too easy. So once it's all blended, pour it in the bowl.
I pour it in a bowl.
It's good to go.
I gotta go grab some ice. Now, as this is a group punch, you just fill it up with ice.
Okay. So this is a nice balance considering we have two warmed drinks in this scenario. If you think of going to a large party or something like that, you might want something to chill down a little bit.
Yeah, so just a little different.
Eggnog's a nice alternative to that.
So it's get it nice and cold. And then since it is appropriate,
it's very appropriate,
you gotta use the Griswold family eggnog. We won't pull a Clark and dip right out of it.
It won't dip just directly out of the punch bowl. Yeah, while these are great, I'm trying to decide how awkward they're gonna be to drink out of.
Just awkward enough. All right, so 1950s eggnog in our
Griswold family.
Cheers. Cheers.
That's amazing.
You don't need to overdo eggnog.
Nope. So simple, but it's the creamy deliciousness of it really brings out the rum flavors but it's not overwhelming. You know, I don't want to deter anybody to think that it's all rum. That rum just sort of, so this one again, not a ton of prep time in it. So it would be an easy one for a family gathering, a holiday party.
Right. Yeah, you can literally throw this one together in minutes.
At the last minute.
Yeah, as long as you have eggs, cream, rum.
The other two, you can kind of set it and forget it a little bit, let that cook and that type of thing.
Yep.
But the eggnog would be,
you just put it together.
Throw and go. I like it. Well, Brian, we didn't really drink outside the box. Did we drink outside the box today?
We did not.
We just adhered to our,
We stayed traditional, but it's one of
the
things that's probably something most people have never had in the Wassel.
And it's about being curious about the different cocktails that we have, and history has done us well so far. So we wanted to pay homage to that. So thank you again, sir.
Thank you.
And follow all the fun we're having at Cap and Cork by following all our social media channels. But if you want to find out first what's going on with Brian and Drinking Outside the Box and all of our other videos at Cap and Cork, sign up for our email newsletter at capandcork.com. Cheers.